definition of sustainability with everything we do in our university. And when we talk about sustainability, to begin with, it is a society that can survive long term. That's a sustainable society. If it's not sustainable, it cannot survive. And then we have worked with definitions on what does it mean then. And you can summarize that very quickly with saying a sustainable society does not have systematic increases of emissions to nature, and it doesn't have systematic increases of use of surfaces and physical destruction of nature. And in a sustainable society, we also have conditions for people that are okay. So it's both ecologically and socially sustainable, and also economically we can get there without getting bankrupt on the way. So that is sort of the big picture about sustainable. And then more specifically about transport, if we go in there, I'm thinking that we often talk about, before even talking about vehicles, we need to think about how do we plan society, because it's so much dependent on the need for transport is so much dependent on how we have structured spatial planning. And so first we should try to plan the city so that it's doesn't require so much transport, so we don't have to move around so much. Maybe there is the talk about the 15-minute city, for example, where you're supposed to be able to walk or bike 15 minutes to everything you need in your daily life. And that has been implemented in Paris. They talk about it in Stockholm, to have more local centers and reorient the city in that way. So if you do that first, that reduces the need for transport. And then step two would be to try to organize the existing city in a way that you give priority to more efficient transport modes like public transport or walking or biking, more of the surface of the street to that. And then, so that's, if you do those things first, then we can start to talk about vehicles. And maybe I should pause here. But
what is a smart mobility alternative? So what, if I understand you correctly, a smart mobility alternative will be close to me, walking distance.
I mean, I would rather say first you need a smart system, so that you are mobile within. Like first you need to set the conditions right, and that could take time. But this idea, the second part I talked about, to reprioritize the land use in the city and in the street and so on, that can be done quite quickly. But if we want to say, okay, now we have done that, and then we want to ask ourselves, what kind of vehicle or service is it that would be more sustainable? I think bike and walking is the most sustainable. Non-motorized transport is often much preferable. Yes, and then after that would be public transport, and after that individual cars. But maybe even when you have individual cars, you could share them in car sharing or carpools. So it's only at the end you talk about one person in a car. That's the last priority of all of that. And then when you have done all that, then next thing we can talk about is fuel. Okay, if you have optimized so that you are using as few cars and inefficient transport modes as possible, then we can talk about electrification and biofuels, but it will be much less need for transformation of cars because there will be fewer cars needed. So, and you would also at the same time reduce crowding in the cities and reduce time lost in car queues and so on. So
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other content was energy efficient vehicle. What's an energy efficient vehicle?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's something that uses less energy than the other, but one way, of course, is to move from sitting one person in a gasoline car, and if you move it into a diesel car, then it's more energy efficient, 30% or something. But if you move it into an electric car, then it's like just 1/3 or 1/4 of the energy used compared to the gasoline car. And other even more efficient way would be to move to an electric bus, for example. Then if we count energy efficiency in relation to the persons traveling, right? If one person is traveling 1 kilometer, then an energy efficient car is good, but putting that person in a bus would make it even more energy efficient, because then it is all the people in the bus would share that service. So yeah, so both moving towards electrification and also public transport would be beneficial.
That is solution. And how is the situation in Taiwan, Betty, in this topic?
In this topic, if I relate it to what the Harnik just saying about the 15 minutes like city life in Taiwan, if you walk like 5 minutes, we have a lot of like 7-Eleven or convenience store. And in that convenience store, you can kind of like buy the tickets, pay the bills, and pay the electric bills, water bills. Like you almost can do everything in the convenience store. So the people don't have to go to like some government sectors or to do something. So their daily life needs, it's already kind of like proper offered by like just visiting the convenience store. And so if we are talking about the 15-minute city, I think it's not about like the institute or the place that we have to reach within 15 minutes. We also can think about like how make people feel more convenient just to reach a place that they usually go to. And it also kind of like make the efficient way to improve people's daily life. You know, like if you can pay bills by the phone, of course, but for some people's maybe they are not convenient to use the phone. But if you can go to the convenience store and to do those things in person, it is also easy. You still can use like e-pays or any kind of like, you know, like online payment. But just like visiting a spot that people usually, even like a supermarket or some like small shops, those can kind of like give the people's convenient living phenomena. So this is something that in Taiwan, I think could reach to the ideas that you mentioned. And when we're talking about like the green, like transport and also the organized land use, like how to make the metro lines connected to the public transportation, and also how to, for example, like in Taiwan, we have a U-bike. So it's kind of like a shared bike. And there's a huge like parking lot next to the metro station. And each kind of like the exit of the metro part, we have like a several kind of like 20 bikes there. So people don't really need to take or work or like ride their scooters. They can just like take the metro and then change the U-bike and then go to the place. So it is also kind of like a smart like connection between those green transportation. And also in Taiwan, we promote the e-scooter, but there's one company called Gogoro. They have an e-share battery. So in the e-share battery, they also set up in some like a in front of the convenience store or even like a gasoline like station. So people like it's reachable while you are run out of your battery. So this is something that what we have been done in Taiwan, and people are quite like used to this kind of life. For example, like there are at least 3 e-scooters in my family members, and they have been used it for more than 5 years. So this is something that have been done in Taiwan, and it is a good system and efficient. So the government just need to promote that people to use the e-bike, to replace the e-bike, because that e-battery system can share not just only one brand of the e-scooter, but also another brand of scooter. So they are using the same e-battery.